With Samoa Joe possibly becoming NXT general manager and the company helping out a former WWE star, this is Wrestling Up. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for June 14th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Up and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Speaking on our latest podcast, former WWE star Chelsea Green touched on an injury scare that took place over the weekend and how WWE is helping out. On Saturday, I decided to get in the ring for the first time since being cleared. I called up Santana Garrett so we could have a little gossip session and roll around in the ring. I usually only reserve the ring for about 2 hours at a time. Santana and I chatted for probably 90% of the time that we were there. When I realized what time it was, I decided we should probably get in the ring, do some somersaults, some shoulder rolls, and stuff like that before we leave. By the time that we spoke and caught up with everything, we only had like 20 minutes left before we had to get out of the ring for the next people who had rented it. I got in, I did a couple of very normal rolls. These rolls are what wrestlers learn on day one of training. I went to do one of these rolls, again, very standard procedure for pro wrestling, and pop, I heard a nasty pop sound. And guess where it came from? Surprise, surprise, my left arm, right around the very area that broke. It was such a gross feeling. The pop was gross, it hurt so much. I would say it almost hurt just as much as breaking it. I really thought at that moment that it's definitely broken, and if it's not fully broken, it's definitely fractured. I went home, I took some Advil, I iced it to see if the pain would die down, and I could figure out what it was. I was very wrong. I woke up the next morning and had to go straight to the ER. I called my surgeon and said, yep, you need to go in. The pain was so bad. My arm was very swollen, and obviously I was kind of freaking out. No, it's broken. For all those out there that say I'm injury prone, I'm not. They took x-rays at the ER, it's definitely not broken, it's not fractured, which I'm so thankful for. They think that I have a lot of scar tissue buildup, and maybe that is bothering my tendon, or I irritated my tendon. Anyway, I reached out to WWE and they were kind enough to let me come into the Performance Center and use their physical therapist and rehab my arm. Thank God. I'm very thankful for that because the injury happened in a WWE ring, so even though I was released, they still take care of that injury. Thank God. If you're not American and you live in America, you know my struggle. The healthcare system is wild. It's very daunting when I see the prices of surgery or even the prices of just dropping into the ER. So I'll be at the PC for the next couple of weeks, which is kind of funny and kind of awkward. I had a little bit of anxiety driving up to the PC, but it's worth it to get this taken care of. And I have so many friends still at the PC. So many of the staff that works at the Performance Center are still my friends, so yeah, it's awkward, but I need to get this taken care of. It's sore, but I'm on the mend. I keep healing. I can get ready for my debut back in pro wrestling on July 14th. When it comes to WWE getting all their talent vaccinated against COVID, some are apparently resistant. As Dave Meltzer noted, most people are vaccinated, but there are people both on NXT and the main roster who have not been vaccinated. The company wants everyone to, but some of them don't want to, and that's that. So it is not everyone, and I was told from NXT that there are guys who believe that the company can't force them to do it, and they're not going to get forced. They're the minority, but in fact, there are people who are not vaccinated on NXT, but most of the people are. Paul Davis of Wrestling News would also note, I've heard from a couple of people in the company who say they have not been vaccinated but intend to do so by July. The feeling among people I spoke with is that they wanted to take a wait-and-see approach to see how people's bodies reacted to the vaccine before taking it themselves. Thus far, we've heard nothing about bad reactions, and everyone in WWE who has been vaccinated is said to be doing fine. The most notable critic of the vaccine in WWE has been Nia Jax, with her seemingly uninterested in getting it from November. Fightful broke the news of Samoa Joe's return to NXT, with there now reportedly being a plan in place for how he will be used. We're told there's a plan in order already for what Joe will do on NXT, but that role is open to expansion if all parties agree. While Joe was not medically cleared upon his release from WWE, it appears he could eventually get back into the ring. After TakeOver in Your House, Meltzer said, so I think that's the cue for Samoa Joe. I don't know that 100%. I was told today that Joe was going to be in a Regal-like role. Then all of a sudden, Regal's talking like he's stepping down, so maybe the Regal-like role is Regal's role. But if he's leaving, based on what I was told, Samoa Joe was definitely the favorite to be the new commissioner, but Joe is in, and he's in a non-wrestler, so I think that tells you that he's not cleared. He's taking a job on NXT and he's doing something there, and he may be the new authority figure on TV, or he may not be, but he's gonna be behind the scenes. Triple H would also touch on Regal's status following the pay-per-view, saying William Regal has been such an integral part of this since day one. There are certain people that have, and then there are people that have come come in along the way that have become, it's hard to envision doing it in any sort of way without them. Regal's definitely one of those people. I don't think that we will ever do it without him. He'll be a part of this until the day that he tells me he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Speaking on the PWI podcast, Kenny Omega talked about the partnership between AEW and New Japan, saying it might not have been possible without the pandemic. I think there will always be limits. There will always be lines that you cannot cross. But I believe that there is a world, right place, right time when you can see every company working together. And I don't necessarily mean every company. I just mean if another wanted to work with another company, I think they'd be open to the idea. And I think, again, this is a terrible thing to say. One of the reasons the Forbidden Door, quote unquote, was opened with New Japan, it was partly due to what we're all struggling with right now, which is a pandemic. Earlier this year, Brodie Lee Jr. trained with Liv Morgan at the dungeon operated by Natalya and TJ Wilson, with him recently getting a rematch with the WWE star, as his mother posted a video of them in the ring with her, writing the rematch everyone has been waiting for, -1 versus Liv Morgan. Thank you again to Natalya and TJ Wilson for letting us come hang out and letting B roll around. He always looks forward to being around wrestling, and this is a safe way for him to learn the basics without bumping around. Keeping close to wrestling has been so important for the boys, and staying close to the people they have known for their whole lives has been very important. We don't have any blood relatives in Florida, so keeping close to our wrestling family has been a huge part in our healing process. Liv is always so patient with Brodie, and they work really well together. Natty has done a great job making sure Brodie learns how to keep himself safe, as well as whoever he works. Also, who better to learn the basics of wrestling from than a Hart? Morgan would comment, "My first intergender match, and I'm so happy it was with -1. It was so great seeing you guys again. Until next time." Going back to Chelsea Green, she has spoken about being the main event of the NWA all-women's pay-per-view on her podcast, saying, "I'm excited for Mickie. I'm excited to see what comes of this. I mean, is she going to be wrestling as well? That would be epic. Or is she just going to be the producer? I mean, either way, guys, tweet NWA, tweet Mickie James. Let her know I want to be on the show. Okay, I want to be the main event of Empower, because that's what I deserve. Mickie, if you're listening to this, I want to be on that pay-per-view, and I want to be the main event." This event is set to take place on the 28th of August, so we'll have to see if Green can make it on the card. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.